Let's talk Transformers. Hi again, everyone. Toy Connections here with another side-by-side video review and comparison. Here we're going to talk about the two versions of Megatron that you see on your screen, namely the Siege War for Cybertron Megatron, as well as the Netflix War for Cybertron version of the same character. Right off the bat, you're going to see that there is no mold differences or proportional differences whatsoever. These are the same figure other than the finish and color scheme, which does make it a little bit easier to review as we're not talking about changes in proportions, changes in mold design, and you end up just comparing color variations on the surface as well as potentially some accessories. So let's just launch right into the accessories now that we're talking about them. The Siege Megatron comes with this cannon that tabs into his large fusion cannon there that transforms into a sword that goes into his hand when he's in the robot mode, and the Siege version, sorry, the Netflix version, does the exact same thing. They're basically identical. There's a tiny bit of color difference between them. You can see one has the silver barrel at the end and one has gunmetal color at the end. And then the Netflix version also comes with a couple of Battle Masters, namely Pinpointer, who's meant to be the Target Master companion of Crosshairs, as well as this guy right here, Leonizer, who's based off of an Action Master figure from the early 1990s. And we do have these Blast Happy accessories that you can also put onto the figures and the Battle Masters. Okay, I'll transform these guys into robot mode, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that we've got them into robot mode, let's have a look at the differences in terms of the detailing and the finish of the two figures. For the Siege version, you'll see that it's meant to be more of a battle damage look that they're trying to convey. You can see the detailing here in the legs. You can see what's meant to be battle damage or some form of scorch marks on his chest, his arms. He looks like he's mid-battle or just come right out of the battle. Whereas on the Netflix version, he has scratches on his chest, a little bit of battle damage here. He's a little cleaner overall, like he just doesn't have the battle damage on the legs whatsoever. And as you can see, a little less damage on the chest. Hopefully you guys can see that. That being said, what really makes the Netflix version pop in my mind is the, as you can see, metallic-y type silver sheen that you get from the figure that you don't get from the more gray, standard gray color of the Siege version. What do you prefer more? What do I prefer more? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, like I've said in the past. Some people think that this version pops a little too much. Some people think that they want it to be a little bit different, have a little bit of an extra kick to it because the original G1 toy was more of a silvery type color. Having said that, in the cartoon, he was this more muted type of gray looking color. Now, having a quick look at the back here, you can see that the tank treads got a little bit of brown detail here with the Siege version, and you don't get that. You get the darker color with the Netflix version. You'll see I elected not to put the two swords into their hands just because I did already compare them earlier. But having a look at the extra options that you do get with the Netflix version, the Battle Master, this is Leonizer transformed into his slashing mode, and this is Pinpointer transformed into his blasting mode. I don't personally put them into his hands because I like to keep him how I remember him in Generation 1, especially since Pinpointer is really Crosshair's Target Master, but I guess what they were trying to do is show that these guys are either captives or hostages or something being used for the Decepticon cause. Anyway, I'll come back here with some final thoughts and some comparisons with a couple of different Optimus Prime figures. So what are my closing thoughts? I put the two Optimus Primes here on the screen that you see, namely the Siege version as well as the Earthrise version, just so you can see how they happen to look together. If you're really splitting hairs and want to be exact, I think that what most people would do is they would say that these two go together because they're the more heavy battle damaged Siege figures, and that these two in theory could go together. I know that Megatron has had other releases as well, but these are two a little bit cleaner type of figures, a little bit less battle damage. In fact, the Earthrise Optimus has no battle damage whatsoever. What's right, what's wrong, it's really hard to say. I mean, if you were to mix and match and you just want one Optimus or one Megatron on your shelf. This will totally work. There you see again, one Optimus, one Megatron. I don't really think you can go wrong either way. But again, just closing this out. For me personally, if I'm picking, I like the shiny finish on this Megatron just because that's what the G1 toy had. It makes him stand out a little bit more on the shelf because he is the Decepticon leader. Having said that, again, I've heard some people prefer the more animated, accurate gray scheme. Again, there's no real right answer here. I know I always say that, and maybe you guys are getting bored of me saying that there's no right answer. But again, if I try to force a right answer onto people, there's going to be some level of disagreement because, you know, my word isn't really the gospel or something that you guys can hang your hat on. So either way, if you happen to come across one or both figures, they're really both good grabs. I should probably finish off though by saying that the Netflix one did come in at a slightly higher price tag. So if that's a factor, do consider that. Having said that, that was at original retail. I can't say what the secondary market will do over the years to fluctuate the value of these figures. So anyway, that's all I really had, guys. Hopefully I'll see you again next time, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. So once again, talk soon, and in the future, I'll give you some more toy content.